Hi ladies, the trick is to keep these under 5 minutes, and then you don't have to put them on YouTube. They could just go on as a video comment, just like a normal picture would. So, talk faster, right? So the verse that I chose was the whole chapter, because I was that woman. It's hard to read some of Proverbs because I was that adulterous woman. I didn't care who I took down with me. I sought after men to fill a void in my life, and I didn't care who it hurt along the way. I had sex with my best friend's husband. I got her drunk multiple times and didn't care. And so I was that person. And once the verse that stood out to me the most was, but in the end, she is bitter as wormwood. And so I know that I struggle with bitterness, generational bitterness, my own bitterness, and it's a hard one that if I don't keep working at it, it's going to come back. And so I had to look up wormwood. Wormwood is an intensely bitter herb used to stimulate the senses. Imagination, and increase sexual desire. And so wormwood in Revelations 8:10 is the third star that fell blazing. The name of that star is wormwood. A third of all of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from bitter water. So today, in my frustrations in my marriage, I feel like I'm the only one that runs around like a chicken with my head cut off while Kyle's just staring at the wall. I feel like I'm the only one that cares whether or not we have mice and rats in our house because food's just left everywhere. I feel like I'm the only one that's doing things, and I feel like Kyle just has to go to work and come home, and that's all he has to worry about. And I know that's a lot of your guys' struggle as well. But today, what really set me off was a text from Aiden's dad, co-parenting. We've coached Aiden's baseball team the last 2 years, and you guys know Kyle was a professional baseball player. That's his thing. That's his love. And Matthew decided that he wants to coach this year, and so he signed Aiden up for a different league. Instead of working together, or instead of talking to us first, that's what he decided. And so what I want to scream to him is that there's a special place in heaven for chicken shit. That's what I want to tell him. But instead, I got mad. I started cleaning. I started frustrating, putting those cabinet doors back on the bathroom. I couldn't get them back on. Finally, I was just like, just stop. Just go do your devotions and take a break. And so I've read this one. I listened to Proverbs over and over and over again, but I finally had to realize that, her speech is smoother than oil. I usually know how to say things to hurt people. I know exactly how to get to where it's going to hurt them the most, and that's that bitterness root that comes out in me when I fall back into my old ways. So the verse that I'm going to focus on today is 5:8. Keep your way far from her. And so that's not her as in the adulterous woman that this book is talking about, but for me, keep my way far away from the person that I used to be. And that means setting up boundaries. That means being the bigger person, even though I don't want to be, even though I have righteous anger. I have every right to be angry right now because it's affecting Aiden, all because of his chicken shit ways of being a coward is what I want to say, but that's just true. And so keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of the house, lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless, lest strangers take their fill of your strength. That right there, I was like, what does that mean? In the commentary, it says, verses 9-10 begin the description of consequences for failing to heed the instruction. And so then it goes back to what bitterness is in Revelations 8-10. A third of all the waters turned bitter, and many people died from those bitter waters. So I'm not saying that people are going to die from my words, but I have the chance to speak life or speak death. And so I can choose to be the bigger person, and a third of those people that are watching are going to see Jesus, or a third of those people are going to see the bitterness come out in me that does not show Jesus, that does not show compassion. And it's easier said than done, but I know that that's what God's asking me to do today. So I chose to keep my mouth shut, and I chose to do my devotions before I respond back to Matthew's text. Observation is stay away from the temptations of adulterous women. Run away. 9 through 10 talks about the chance that we have to show others and to teach others by our choices and our boundaries. So like Joseph, when he was approached by Pharaoh's wife, Joseph didn't think of the earthly consequences. He didn't think of how he was going to get in trouble, or can I get away with this, or no one will really know. Look at her, she's beautiful. Joseph thought, how can I sin against God? And so that's what I want to switch my motives to, is I don't want to sin against God. I don't want this bitterness to be here, not because of my earthly consequences, but because God's watching, and He's my Father, and how could I do that against Him that already delivered me from my Egypt? So the application, I was this woman, so it's hard to read now and see the destructive path that I took and how many people I destroyed along the way. My application today is verse 8, keep your way far from her, far, far away from the person that I used to be. I have a hard time with bitterness, and I know that I need to set my boundaries and stick with them. My prayer, Father, is my prayer that you take care of Matthew. Lord, you know that he is the thorn in my flesh. I pray that your justice prevails. I pray for protection over Aiden's heart, and I pray that you remove all bitterness from my heart. Father, you know that I struggle daily with co-parenting, and you know my heart. You know my motives. Please help me to keep my motives clean. Amen. Father God, I also pray for these women who are going through their own struggles. I pray for those struggling in their marriage, struggling in parenting, not just co-parenting, but regular parenting. Father, I pray that they have the strength to reach out for help. They choose to invest in their marriage, and as hard as it is to seek counseling, seek after Bruce and go see him. I know that Kyle and I have a retreat coming up, and I can't wait for that. I pray that that you would speak to my heart to be the wife that he needs. Teach me how to be the wife that he needs. Teach me how to co-parent the way that Matthew needs. Teach me how to be the sister that my brother needs. Teach me how to be the mom that each of my kids individually needs. Lord, I pray that we all, no matter what's going on, that we take that time to dig into your word. Like it says at the end of this chapter, Proverbs 5:23, he dies for lack of discipline, and because of great folly he's led astray. We got to keep ourselves disciplined, Lord. I pray that these ladies know how important it is to discipline themselves to stay in your word. Otherwise it is so much easier to be led astray. Lord, I love you, and I pray this all in your name. Amen.